Good afternoon. My name is Judy Casey. For those of you that don't know me, I thank you for joining us today for our second Tuesday Lunch and Learn. My mic seems to be dead. Tamara does have one, and she's who you want to hear today. Again, thank you for coming. This program is sponsored by the Friends of the Rogers Public Library. I hope you all got a cookie. There's some mulled cider, some coffee, some lemonade or water over there. Please help yourself today. Tamara Sykes is our speaker today, and Tamara is a staff member here at the Rogers Public Library. And we just thought it would be a good program this time of year with Halloween approaching to have one of Arkansas's noted haunted houses. And Tamara actually lived in the vicinity of the Allen House for a long time. How far away is it, Tamara?
It's 15 minutes from my hometown, and I've lived there for 26 years.
And there are some places like that around here. I hope you enjoy the program. On your table next month, we're going to have the business of brewing craft beer in Northwest Arkansas. Sorry, we will not have samples. But let people know, we do this program from September through May each year and take a hiatus during the summer because of all the summer reading club programs that we have going on. Once again, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. It's exciting to have you here, and I look forward to hearing Tamara's presentation. Me too.
Hello. As Judy mentioned, I work here, and I was wrangled into this by Leslie, who is in charge of the Lunch and Learn programs. I told her about actually being a tour guide at this haunted house for a few years, and she said that we should have one. And here I am doing this. I didn't know that I was going to. But the Allen House is in southeast Arkansas in Monticello, which is about 5.5 hours directly southeast. You go through Little Rock, Pine Bluff, down there, Star City. Basically, there's nothing there but trees. There's also very beautiful houses like the Allen House. And I'm going to tell you the history of the house and how it's very well known that it is indeed a haunted house. I grew up with stories of ghosts and legends of kids going to the front door and never returning. But we're going to learn about that, and I'm also going to tell you about EVPs and other ghosty things, which I have definitions of a couple things on some sheets of paper if you want them. There's also a chronology of the Allen family who that house was built by. And okay, here we go. And on the picture right here is a haunted love story, The Ghost of the Allen House, which is the tale of Mark and Rebecca Spencer, who I know. Mark is the Dean of the Arts and Humanities at UAM, and they bought the house and didn't care about it being haunted, even though many people warned them. And they kind of solved the decades-old mystery of why the main woman was the ghost, who's Liddell, why she killed herself. And this is the story about it. But this is the Allen House, as you can see, in 1910. It was built in 1905 by Joe Lee Allen, who was a wealthy businessman in Monticello. This is Joe Lee and his wife, Caddy. Joe Lee was born in 1863 and Caddy was born in 1871. As I mentioned, he was a prominent businessman and entrepreneur. He owned many things throughout the town. That's a picture of him again. He died in 1917 while demonstrating an automobile for a customer. He died of a heart attack. And his funeral was held in the dining room of the Allen House, which was very, very typical for that time. Many of the Allen House family members had their funeral inside the dining room, which we'll see a picture of. And in the dining room, there's lots of paranormal activity that they have. They've had many, many EVPs, which is electronic voice phenomenon, that they record on their devices and play it back, and you can hear voices. And at the end of this, we'll listen to some of those. This is a newspaper ad for Joe Lee's library business. He sold buggies, wagons, horses, mules. He owned a horse-drawn rental hearse, which was convenient for when he died. And then later he sold automobiles, which, like I mentioned, he died demonstrating one of those for someone. He also owned a hotel that was in downtown Monticello, Arkansas, built in 1912, and it burned down in 1943. And you can see a lot of his influence throughout the town of Monticello. There's a few streets named Allen. There's a few buildings that has his name on it. He was very, very prominent. These are, the man with the fabulous mustache is Joe Lee. The other gentleman is his nephew, and the three girls are the three daughters. Going from this side is Liddell, who is the main story who we're going to learn about, and then Lonnie and Louie. And a lot of these photographs that we have are from archives, or they're actually, some of them were found in the house, up in the attic and in various places. I believe this was one that was found in archives. This is Lonnie. She married Carl Leidinger, and they had their son, which is that little boy, Carl Leidinger Jr. Once his mother passes away, he becomes the owner of the Allen house, which is in the chronology that I gave you. This is Louie, she is the last daughter, but she was born in 1897 and died in 1944. And then Liddell was born in 1894. She has a town named after her because of her father's influence. It's a little bit on the outskirts of Monticello. I've been there. It's basically a ghost town now. There's dilapidated houses and old mailboxes, and a couple people still live there, but it's not anything, it didn't grow, it just shrank. It's a lot grown over. She is looking through the archives when they were discovering her past and everything like that. They discovered that she has multiple spellings of her name, which made it kind of confusing to decipher who is who. This is a copy of her death certificate. She died of mercury cyanide poisoning. That was the diagnosis that the doctor gave. As you can see, she died, or passed away. Her birth death certificate was filled out January the 2nd, 1949. And a lot of people believed that she was depressed and she passed away and killed herself because of the death of her son, Elliot Allen Bonner, who was mostly known as Allen Bonner. But he died in 1944, and a lot of people believe that she was just carried that depression in her for all those years and then took her life on that day. He died of pneumonia in New York City, where he was studying journalism at Baylor University. And I'm going to show you a couple pictures of the house. I wish I could show you the whole house because it is a very, very beautiful house. A lot of people that come through the tours don't care about the spooky stuff. They just want to see how lovely it is because it was built by a famous architecture. But this is a picture of when the Spencer family first saw it in 2005. They moved here, like I said, because Mr. Spencer was going to be the dean of the Arts and Humanities Department. And they were, at the time, in a very small, cramped house where they had their daughter and 2 boys, and they said that the floors were rolling waves and everything rolled away from them, and they were just driving around trying to find a house. And Rebecca told him to pull over, and she wanted that house. She said, if you buy me this house, then I will stay happily here in Monticello. This is the very first picture that they took. As you can see, it's kind of creepy. There's vines crawling all over it. They really made it beautiful, though. You'll see a picture of that. porch. The glass is beveled, and there's lots of stained glass. All of the glass on that porch is original, and it would cost a pretty penny to replace it. You can't see it, but in front of the porch there's mosaic tiles, and they spell out JLA for Jolie. And it's a wraparound porch. This is the foyer. They've really made it pretty. It did have that old cheesecloth wallpaper, about 7 layers of wallpaper on top of that. So they took it all down and they replaced all the wallpaper on the bottom floor, and they're still working on the top floor. But this is one of the investigation groups that they allowed into their home to do investigations and tours. And this is the parlor. That Victrola to the far, this area, spins by itself. And it's really hard to make it spin by itself. We've all tried to recreate it many times. And more than one person who has walked through the house by themselves, turning off lights and things like that, have heard music coming from this room. That is that old-timey music that would come from the Victrola. And then when they would go in, of course, nothing would be playing. They don't have any, not discs, any things to play it on. And not just the Spencers and not just the people who are associated with the Spencers, but many people before have said that they heard music coming from this room. And the French doors are original. This is the dining room. This is where you ate, and then this is also where you visited your relatives when they passed away, because the funerals were held here. There is, I wish I could have got a picture of it, but it's a personal house, and I asked them, and they said they weren't comfortable showing the pictures of every room, especially not the bathrooms. But there's handmade tin on the roof, and there's a picture in the book, I know. It's mentioned that Walter, they had a child in between Liddell and Louis, and his name was Walter, and he passed away at the age of 9 months. And there has been a lot of EVPs and activity in the dining room, and more than once, the EVPs have said the name Walter quite clearly. And also Alan Bonner, Liddell's son, was brought home from New York and buried here. I mean, not buried here, they had his funeral here. And then they're all buried in Oakland Cemetery, which is about 2 blocks away. And you can kind of see the library. This right here is what they call an anomaly. The picture was taken during one of the tours that they give. They give tours during October 30th and 31st. And then they also give special tours throughout the year. If you have enough people, you can set up the tours. But this was one of the tours. When this was taken by one of the school librarians, she was taking pictures with her phone rapidly, and the picture before it and the picture after it was clear, but this picture in particular had this strange black figure right here, and there was no one else in the room with her at the time, and needless to say, she was quite spooked out. And they tried to recreate it with somebody walking through, maybe somebody was standing there, because that little area right there is what they call the butler cabinet, because it has several cabinets, and they believe that the butler was supposed to stand there and assist the family, because it connects to the kitchen. But they weren't able to recreate anything like that, because you were able to see that it was indeed a person standing there, and not just some strange figure.
kind of a short version to it.
Yeah. Some people say it's Liddell's, some people say it's another kind of ghost, because the Allen house, before the Allen house was built there was another home, and it was a girls' boarding school. Then after that, it was closed and served as a hospital for the Civil War. And after the Civil War, it was opened back up for a boys' boarding school before the Allens bought it and lived there for a little while. And they took that house and moved it across the street and started building the lovely Allen house that I showed. This is part of the library. It connects to the parlor and the dining room. And there's been books coming off the shelves there, books being rearranged, and of course they blame it on their sons and their children, but they claim that they didn't do it. There's a piano in there, just off to the side, and they hear piano music playing, even though there's nobody down there playing the piano. This is the office. And again, things get moved around, and I just wanted to show the office because the tall window behind Mr. Spencer is curved, and all of the turrets in the home have that curved glass, which I always think is really cool and everybody really loves. And also the stained glass at the top, all of those are original. And if they get broken, again, that's quite a bit of money to replace them, because the window sills are curved as well, so you couldn't just place a flat piece of glass against it. This is the attic, the third floor. They have the bottom floor, and then you walk up to the stairs. You have the living area with the bedrooms and everything. And then you crawl up into the attic, and that's what we call the third floor. And the attic has a lot of activity as well. This is where Alan Bonner played as a child. There is a makeshift table that you can tell was made by a child, and on it is painted "Ye Old Village Halfwits," and it's signed by Alan and some of his friends and dated 1932. And in the turret, it continues to go up, and you can tell that there's like boards there that are just right for a kid to climb up in. And Mr. Spencer has found toy soldiers and clippings of newspapers, and he also found this wooden board that kind of looked like Oklahoma, and he believes that it was probably Miss Caddy's paddle that mysteriously disappeared one day. Oh, and what the man is holding in his hand is an EMF meter, which I talk about that in there, and what it does is you set it down and it measures electromagnetic fields. And this is commonly used when investigating ghosts because they believe that ghosts put off the EMFs and they'll light up whenever a ghost is supposedly near. And good investigators try to debunk it by placing another one beside it, or they'll try to see if there is wiring nearby, like a lamp or something like that, because that also sets it off. And there's one video that I may have to find, but it is of two EMF meters sitting beside each other while they're in the dining room, and the one is flashing and the other one is just completely dead. And the rocking chair that you see right there is an Allen House original. It's the only piece of furniture that they have that still belonged to the Allen House family. There are trinkets and other things that they found in the house, mostly exploring. But other than that, that's the only piece of furniture. There was a fire in the attic in 1907. I mean, there's not It didn't affect the third floor. I mean, the attic side that we saw just a moment ago, it was the other side. You can see the charred beams and where they just put another beam against it to support it. And there's a few burnt things that they found in the attic, like this bathing suit. And they have them displayed well. This is the carriage house. It's quite dilapidated. It's wearing down and it is shifted on its foundation, and there's really nothing to do other than dump a lot of money into it to save it. But it was built in 1907 for $700. It has 8 rooms and it was the maid's quarters. And a strange thing about that is that Mark was exploring the carriage house and he found a little shelf against 2 beams that had a tombstone. And the tombstone said, "Our darling one hath gone before to greet us on his blissful shore." And it was Houston Meredith, 1895 to 1900. So it was before the Allen House was built, but there was a tombstone in the carriage house before the Allen House was built. And he tried to find if there was a Meredith family in Monticello at the time, if possibly they were employed by the Allens, but he couldn't find any information on that. And it was a legit tombstone. I've seen it. Couldn't get pictures of it. Okay, this is The Scent of Lilacs by Carolyn Wilson. There were tenants in the apartments from 1949 to 1985. Carl Leidinger separated the home into different apartment areas. And many people who lived there throughout the years have said that they experienced different things. Carolyn Wilson was so affected by her experience that she wrote a novel about it. About, not the Allen House in general, but it inspired her. Many other tenants have said that they experienced things moving around, hearing people talk to them when there was nobody there. One gentleman said that he took a picture of his wife. Their room was in the dining room, and when he got it developed, there was someone standing behind her. And this was in the 1970s, before Photoshop was really a thing. And this, the book, was kind of how I stumbled upon the Spencer family. My friend Wesley loved the Allen House, and he had all these grandiose ideas of all of us moving together in the house, living there, which I wasn't too keen about because I heard that it was haunted. But we heard about this book, and we decided to go to the local used bookstore because surely they have a book that's inspired by somewhere in Monticello. So we went there looking for the book, and we asked the woman who owned the bookstore, and she looked at us funny, and then she looked to the woman that was sitting beside her, who looked at her funny, and then they both looked at us funny. And they wanted to know why we wanted the book. And so we told them that we loved the Allen House. And the woman who did not own the bookstore, the second woman, was Rebecca Spencer, who, of course, owned the Allen House. And we managed to be the maid and butler in a mystery dinner party. And she said that we did a good job, and after that, they were deciding to start doing tours of the house during Halloween. And she asked us if we wanted to be tour guides. And we all jumped on it and struck up a friendship from there. Okay. The letters. The letters. It was a huge mystery for a long, long time as to why Liddell killed herself. Everyone knew that she killed herself. Everyone knew that she took mercury cyanide poisoning. There were just a lot of different rumors as to why. There was the one with her son. There was one where she had some rogue lover at an internment camp that was near Monticello during World War II. there were all sorts of different theories. But Mark, one day, woke up and decided to explore the attic like he did on occasion. And something told him to go over to this one spot. So he went over there, looked around, knowing that he had explored this area many times before, and he saw this little sliver of something underneath the baseboards. And so he reached down and pulled it out, and there was a letter. And it was addressed to Liddell, and it was a few months before she passed away. So he went downstairs and got a crowbar and pulled up the baseboards, and there were about 80 letters from various people, but the main one that it was from Prentice Hemingway Savage. So he started reading the letters, which is a bit about what the Haunted Love Story book is about. He started reading the letters and he realized that this man was formerly a Monticelloan, and him and Liddell had been high school sweethearts until he moved away, and he became some huge CEO and had money and oil and became a big businessman. And he returned to Monticello one day and just appeared on the doorstep of the Allen house and decided that he was going to whisk Liddell away. Problem was, he was married. And so he took her on an adventure for the weekend and talked about how great of a time they had, and went home, and they continued to write letters, and he kept talking about how lovely she was and how great of a time he had and how he was going to divorce his wife, which was his second marriage, and how they were just going to live happily ever after. He met her again in July, and they had a lovely time. He kept telling her to duck because he was coming across people that he saw and he didn't want them to think anything. And by December 2nd, he had decided that he likely wasn't going to divorce his wife because she wanted too much of his money, and kind of left Liddell in a depressive state. So it's commonly believed now that she killed herself because he didn't come and take her away. And she was admitted to the hospital on December 25th, 1948. And the hospital is the current site of the Monticello Library, which you can peek out of the porch off the Allen house and you can see it down the road. So it wasn't too far away. And that's what the letters were about. They were all from, not all of them, but most of them were from Prentice. And Mark pieced together the story from there. There were also some from Prentice's sister, who sort of kept their secret and kept the secret to the grave. No one else knew about it until Mark found those letters, which was a huge controversy in the town. Monticello was about 9,000 people, and Mark did not realize what a uproar this would cause. And a lot of people believe that he should have just burned the letters and not let anyone know. A lot of people were excited to finally have this mystery solved. But a lot of people were very angry at Mark after discovering this for some reason. There's some of the letters that they have displayed at the house. There's a wall in the hall, and they have them put up. There's a picture of the Allen house as it is now. They pulled off all the vines and gave her a fresh coat of paint. She looks like a really lovely gal. That's the image of America, Monticello, and it talks about the Allen house and other things within Monticello that Mark helped edit. Ghost Walking is a novel that's inspired by the Allen house that's going to be published in February. And the Allen house has also been on all of these shows. Live ghost story, a haunting, ghost hunters, paranormal witness, and then they just got done filming for Ghost Brothers. It's also, oh, that's part of a haunting. The actress that played Liddell. And this is for ghost hunters. And that, the guy with the tie is Mark, and then Rebecca's in the middle, and then ghost hunter guy is in the other side. That's them, the ghost hunters, showing the EVPs and the information that they got. And there's the Ghost Brothers in the middle, with Mark and Rebecca again, and then 3 of their sons. There's also going to be a movie that was filmed at the Allen House that a lot of the local people who want to become actors and actresses got to take part of, which was very exciting for everybody. I can talk about, you can follow the Allen House on Facebook, and they are going to post when they're going to do tours. I do know that they're going to do Dinner and a Ghost in December, which Dinner and a Ghost is, as it sounds, they cater, and you get to eat in the dining room, and then you get to get a tour of the house. And Mark will probably talk your ear off. And I can talk about other experiences if you want, and I can show you a video of what happened of the first investigation, because once it opened up, once they started giving tours, a lot of people kept contacting them because people have been wanting to see this house for years, and a lot of people wanted to explore it and investigate it on a spooky side, and so they opened up their house. The very first people that got to do it were Louisiana Spirits, or LA Spirits, which has a really spooky story. They showed the investigators around the house and then decided that they were going to leave and go watch a movie and eat and let the investigators do their thing. While the investigators were setting everything up, they were getting ready and they were like, okay, we're going to turn off all the lights and we're going to start. They heard this huge noise, this huge banging noise, and then all of the lights in the house went off.
I was scared to death.
So they called the Spencers, who worked 2 blocks down the road, and they had to turn around and come back. And the Allen house was the only dark house. And it so happened that a tree in the backyard fell and ripped the transformer off of the wall. So they were sitting in the dark. The investigators decided to do a little bit of what they could because they came all the way, and they got a couple of creepy recordings that I can show. Other experiences that have happened have been things moving around, clothes falling off of hangers. I got stuck in the downstairs bathroom, which is supposedly happened to other people as well. They say Liddell shuts the door on you. The upstairs bathroom is creepy, and I don't like it. So I would always go to the downstairs bathroom because it was much smaller, and I just liked it better. The upstairs bathroom was just creepy. And so I washed my hands and everything, and I went to open the door, and it had one of those hook hole locks. That's it. So I flipped it up and tried to open the door, and nothing happened. And I tried to open the door, and nothing happened. And I tried to open the door, and I kicked it, and everything else was banging. Well, I was the only person in the house because everybody was outside. And I said, freaking out a little bit, Liddell, let me out, and we'll be cool. And I tried it again, and it opened up just fine.
I'll be honest.
And one of my friends has said that some clothes were thrown out of the closet at him because he was joking with one of the tours and said that Liddell was a tacky dresser. I do know that one of the times that I did a tour, we were walking through the master bedroom where Liddell killed herself, which was also shut off from 1949 to 1985 by her mother. She locked it up and wanted to preserve Liddell's memory. But we were walking through there, and one of the guys in the tour threw up his hands and said, "This room is really, really weird." And he had goosebumps and he was shivering. And I said, "Well, that's because this is where she killed herself." There is another spooky one that really creeps me out. I don't get creeped out a lot, and I've walked around that house many times with most of the lights off and felt perfectly safe. But there was a special tour, a midnight tour with a group of ladies, and one of the ladies was recording stuff with her phone, and you could hear them talking and chatting and everything. And you can hear that she kind of moves the phone away from her, and then you hear this little girl voice that says, "And these are the stairs." And there were no little girls present in the house at the time. And I heard that one, and that one is the creepiest EVP that I've ever heard. It made me shiver, and I told Mark that I was leaving, but I didn't, but it was quite creepy. And doppelgangers is another thing that happens. Doppelgangers in the paranormal world, they supposedly feed off your energy to apparate, and when they do, they look like you. There's one tale in the book of them moving in on the first day, and Mark has a whole stack of boxes, and he sees their son, and he tells him, "Get up and help us. What are you doing? Why are you just sitting there?" And the boy doesn't say anything. So he's like, "Okay, well, he's in one of his moods." So he walks off, and he walks into the next room, and there's the boy standing right there. And he looks back, and he's not there. He said, "How did you do that?" And the boy says, "How did I do that?"
Oh boy.
Creepy stuff, yeah. This was recorded by Rebecca, and it's the first investigation, the LA Spirits, where the lights went out, and they continued to record while they were exploring to see why the electricity went off, and they heard something that says not a transformer when they were talking about, there's a transformer that blew probably. We can listen to that and you can kind of get an idea of what an EVP sounds like. It's a lot of them talking, and they're outside on the back porch looking at the transformer.
Widow. I figured out why they call it a widow's walk or widow's watch or whatever, because, when people went out to see something.
Did you guys hear the whispering? Did it sound like not transformed? Do you want to listen to it again?
Sure.
Yeah? A lot of times they're very whispery, and it's hard to make out. I remember one that none of the tour guides agreed on. Some of us thought that it said, "I just lied." Someone thought it said it was justified. And then one person thought they were saying it was just a pie. Sometimes they're really, really clear. Like the one with the little girl, that was like, I am speaking to you right now. And that's why it creeped me out so much. There's another one that I couldn't find, but they were in the dining room investigating, and they're talking about the funerals being held in the dining room. And then you hear this gruffy man voice say, Walter. And we believe that he's speaking about the little boy that passed away. And there was another investigation group, the Unknown Paranormal, which the picture of them was in the foyer. And they had a couple of them. I'm not going to play all of them. I think there's like 30. But again, you can see that some of them are really, really whispery and hard to make out. Sometimes you'll just get something. They believe that the spirit of Alan Bonner haunts the attic. And that ghost is very sarcastic because they'll ask questions and the ghost will be like, yeah. Sure. Okay, whatever.
With the house now, or have you moved on in your life, or do you still go back there and do tours and stuff?
Well, I haven't done tours for a couple of years because my schedule hasn't lined up, but I got permission from Mark and Rebecca to do this because originally Mark was going to come up here, but you saw they have two little boys who can't be far away from their parents for too long, and so they said that I could do it. They also did a maze in the backyard, a haunted maze, where people would pop out and spook you and everything. And I didn't go in the maze because I was too scared. But I did sell popcorn and stuff like that, and that was easier to do than doing the tours. But they do ask my friends who live down there to do the occasional special tour, and they have been on some of those shows.
So you're a firm believer?
I've had experiences. Like being locked in the door in the bathroom, which I had laughed about before. And, having the tours, having people react in ways and know things that nobody has told them was really creepy. And seeing like the goosebumps on his arm and him saying that like there's something here, that was pretty interesting. And like he felt cold, like around him felt cold, and it was Halloween, but it was Halloween in Southeast Arkansas, so it was like 75 degrees, so it was very strange. Anything else?
Did you ever go ghost hunting?
Unwillingly. My friends gather me up and say we're going to go places and eat pancakes, and then we wind up in a cemetery. One that we have went to is Mark's Mill down there in Southeast Arkansas, which is a Civil War battleground, and we've heard cannon fire, and we had a EVP thing, and it was responding to us. We asked how many people are there here, and they said 4, and there was 4 of us, and I said, let's go.
Thank you, Tamara.